All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to week number 5. That is right, week number 5 of your 7314 course, which is your basically your reference class. I'm not even going to look up what the title is, the formal title, because I say it every week and I still have to look it up every week for some reason. But this is your reference class. As always, I am your professor, Dr. Jace K. Austin. And we don't have a whole lot as far as course updates today, but we are going to, this will probably be between a 30 and a 40-minute video, so this will be a long video. Buckle up, we're in for a long ride, but this will hopefully be a video that you find enjoyable. What we are going to do, though, is we're going to talk a little bit, just a little bitty bit about a few business resources. Now, what I'm going to say is that if you really want to get a handle on business resources, you should take my business reference class the next time it is offered. So be on the lookout for that. But until then, what we're going to do is just a brief overview. Please know that there's no way I can just record a video, one video, and be like, okay, now you know how to do business reference. It don't work that way. It takes a whole course in order to learn business reference. And you aren't even fully learning it even after you do that. You're just kind of getting that rundown, getting that prep. You know how it is. So again, we are going to look at a few business databases right now. I'm going to tell you the most important of the business databases that we offer here at Mizzou based on my professional practice. Remember what I said last week, this can vary by institution, but I'm also on the business librarian listserv and those sorts of things. So I have seen what other people are doing a lot of as well, and so I can give you a pretty good handle on that. What you're going to need to do, of course, if you want to learn these resources, is you are going to have to get your feet wet and start exploring them and doing things with them yourself. But until we get there, Dr. Jace is going to give you, again, a little brief intro. One thing that I want you all to remember is that business reference is probably one of the most challenging areas of reference that you'll ever really get into. I think that business and health kind of vie with each other for what gives people the most problems. But I will say that business librarianship, you don't have to have a business background. A business background certainly helps, but most business librarians do not have business degrees and do not have business backgrounds. And that still does not stop them from learning the skills and being business librarians. And if you can pick up that skill or that niche, it can go a long way for you and your marketability. You may want to also look at some business librarian YouTube videos. They can be very helpful. And then also, if this is an area that's of interest to you, Celia Ross is awesome. And she has books. Just gonna Google it this way. So you may want to try to get a hold of this book. You may even want to see if your library has, there's a second edition, by the way, that just came out. So it's more expensive. I'm actually surprised that the first edition is so expensive now that the second edition is out. We're seeing some prices there, but this is a very helpful book for those who are trying to learn business reference. So if you're trying to go that way, give it a shot. And with that said, let's go back to our library. And I am going to highlight the business library databases that I've found the most useful. So if you want to start learning databases, these are some of the ones that I'm going to recommend that you get your feet wet with. So let's jump into business here. And actually, let me show you the cheat sheet from my previous institution. So I used to work for Coastal Carolina University. And this is something you might even want to just bookmark or something of that nature. Okay. So I had to pause for a second to pull this up. Here's what I want you all to, this is the main thing that you need to know if you are trying to attempt business reference. What you need to do in a nutshell, and again, Celia Ross's book goes very in depth into this. So again, it's a book that you may want to get acquainted with if this is an area that you wish to go in order to enhance your marketability. But yeah, so if you are fielding a business reference question, what you need to do is you need to figure out whether your question fits one of really 4 broad categories. You can either be looking for company information, industry information, statistical information, which is consumer information, or stock information. So again, there are 4 broad categories in business research: company, industry, investment/stock, and statistical / consumer knowledge, consumer base. Okay. And so Coastal does, they don't have a lot of the business databases that you'll find at other places, including one thing that they don't have, which they probably need, is IBISWorld. It was very challenging doing some business work there without IBISWorld. However, I would say once you have a good feel for which databases are used for which types of information, that is when you will be done with what I would call, I guess, step 1 of the business reference process. So for instance, if you are looking for information on publicly owned companies, or publicly traded companies, I should say, Mergent Online is very useful. Also, if you're looking for competitor information, Mergent is where you want to go. Whereas if you are looking for company information for private companies, then Priveco is where you would want to go, and so on. So let's get back over here and let's look at these databases. We're gonna pull up just a few of these here, and all right, so let's go ahead and pull up a few of these here just to kind of get our feet wet and see what we are dealing with. First things first, let's look at some company information. First of all, Mergent. Mergent is always great. Get us some Mergent action going on here. So with Mergent, there are several things you can do. One thing that you can do is you can search for companies by NAICS code. You can also search for companies by name. Now, when I talk about NAICS codes, these days, all you have to do is Google them. So I am not going to get into anything excessively difficult here. Let's say that you wanted to, you could use this code lookup, but I find it easier to try to Google. So let's say you are looking for cosmetics companies, if Dr. Jace could spell. So you could do like a cosmetics NAICS code, and so we would find this 446120. And so what you could do, for instance, primary NAICS 446120. Put that in. You can click search. And what you should get is a nice little rundown of companies that are using this NAICS code. This is actually not what I was expecting. It's trial and error, folks. Hold on, let me pause. That did not work out how I wanted it to at all. I'm not even sure what I just saw there. But Revlon is big back where I'm from. They've got a place in Oxford, North Carolina. They employ a lot of people there. So why don't we do a company search? I was going to try to get fancy and do something else, and I fooled myself. So let's say that you wanted to, let's say you have a public company and you want to get some information on them. And let's say Revlon is the public company that I want. What I can do, again, I'm going to go back. You can come here to company search, you can type in a ticker symbol or the company name. You can also look up ticker symbols on Google. So if you just do, again, it's just easier for me, Revlon ticker symbol, you'll get it. You will get this right here, the REV, and that's what you would use. So once you put that in, you would be brought to this overview page, and there's a lot, and I mean a lot of good information within these company profiles. So you're going to land on the company details page, and there's going to be quite a bit of information here, including they are not using that cosmetics NAICS code that I would have associated with them. But that's the thing. Companies, one thing you are going to have to keep in mind as you're doing business research, and it can be very tricky, is that companies can have more than one NAICS code that they fall into. And that's especially going to be the case when you get into things like Walmart and these general retail stores. They can be all over the place. But something like Revlon, you're probably going to be a little bit more condensed and focused. So in your overview page, you're going to have like key executives. So we've got our chairman of Revlon, Ronald Perelman, age 78. We don't have a salary for him. We do have salaries for these others. These are how much these people are reportedly making, and this is public information. So I know people are like, whoa, wait a minute, you are putting these people's business out there. Well, yeah, it's public information. When you are a higher up at a public company like this, you'll see a brief thing of key financials here, but then you will also have a tab for financials up here. So you have the synopsis, you can have highlights, you do have incorporated information, all of this stuff, have a little bit of information on revenue, market cap, all of these things. You can get a little bit of history, so a very little bit of history, really. I don't really use this for historical information. Subsidiaries, so if you do have subsidiaries of your company, then they will be identified here. So these are companies that are 100% owned by Revlon Incorporated. You can see there, they probably acquired a lot of these, and so forth and so on. So you can again look at your executives here, get a little bit more information on them. Ownership, you can find out who owns various shares and things of that nature. Your big shareholders are really what you're going to see here. You're not going to see those that just have a little bit of share interest in there. Company financials. So again, if you need especially a lot of students need like their ratio data, and you can get little explanations for these things too, just by highlighting the question mark there. But you can get your ratios, which a lot of students may need, their profitability ratios, return on investment, return on assets, and I think this is return on equity. Again, I don't have that business background, so I'm just kind of floating that by ear. Debt management, asset management, all of these things, so you can get this. And then one thing that might be important, and you can, by the way, if you need a 10K, you can get your 10K here, or you can get your 10K also from the SEC, okay? So there are multiple ways to access a 10K, but I actually prefer to get it from Mergent for whatever reason. I couldn't even tell you why. Competitors. This is a big deal. Okay. So if you want competitor information, because sometimes students will want to know who are the direct competitors to these companies, and you can go to the competitors tab. And one way that people generally group competitors, or sort them, I should say, is by revenues. So you can have like revenues, or you can change this to like, I don't know, share price. Probably want to do it the other way. So as you can see, Estee Lauder has higher share prices than these others, and then Revlon will be way further down, but still respectable. So this is your overview of Mergent, and this is a good way again to find out about competitors. And what you can do is you can actually click on a competitor to learn more about it and what's going on with that company. Now, I think there's just something wrong, honestly. Like, I've never seen this look this way and have all those Canadian companies listed. So I'm going to try this one more time. Every now and then you will see errors in the databases, that happens, and maybe that's what's happening here. Let me see. Search. Bada bing. Oh, come on, man. Okay. Now. It just looks weird. I haven't seen this before. It doesn't look right. So I am just going to, and in fact, I think this is the same SIC code that was coming up. I am more prone to searching by SIC as opposed to by NAICS, but that is just a personal preference. Okay, now again, I want to try to keep this at 40 minutes, so we got to move on. Sorry, you know what? I'm just gonna get a little comfortable here. I had a very strenuous gym workout today, and so I am as sore as I want to be. So, yeah. What I will say before we get back into looking at any other databases is that, again, Mergent is mostly for publicly owned. Mergent is from publicly owned companies. So if you do need information on privately held companies, then again, Priveco, which we don't have access to, which surprises me. I don't do reference for Mizzou. I do reference for UMKC, and we do have Priveco over there. But I don't see it on our list here. So just know that Priveco, when you're doing research on private companies, that might be what you need to look at. But there's going to be a lot less information available on those private companies generally. And then what I will also say is that if you want to do some exploring or learn a little bit about Priveco, then what you should probably do is actually get on YouTube and look at some Priveco tutorials. But again, because I don't have access to it here, I'm not going to show it to you. Now, also, as a librarian, don't be afraid to use your over-the-web resources. So, actually, let me just Google it, Yahoo Finance. You can actually get a lot of great information on Yahoo Finance. They are a go-to of mine as well, even when I'm dealing with students who are supposedly wanting things that are not open web. I just find that Yahoo Finance is where it's at. They have so much good stuff. So I'm going to, again, put in my ticker symbol for Revlon. I am going to click here, and I will be brought to this page. Now, this information for the most part is free, but as you can see, there is some information that is pay to play. Company Outlook, you will not get that unless you are paying. So, but you can get, so for stocks and investment, you can get your summaries here. This is all good information here for those who try to follow the stock markets and everything. You can get some history here. Yeah, so 6 months from March 23rd to June the 22nd, and then here. So this is like a halfway point. And then you can pull some other information here. So, if you needed chart overviews and everything, by the way, you can get news down there, but I'm going to show you another news source, which is Business Source Premier. Stats can be very helpful. You can get, again, analysis and company financials. So again, especially for investment, company information, we're still on the company information aspect here. When you are doing company information and investment, Revlon is a great place to go for anyone who, I guess, works there, or likes to shop there. But what I meant was, or likes to buy their products, I should say. But Yahoo Finance is where you want to go. So you can play around with Yahoo Finance a little bit, learn the different features here. Now, markets I haven't played with. I probably shouldn't try to play with it now, but okay. Yeah, let me not play with that now, not knowing what it is. I'll figure that out later. Another guy that you want to be familiar with and that you are going to have access to here at Mizzou is going to be S&P Net Advantage or Standard & Poor's Net Advantage. And you can get company information here, but you can also get industry information and those sorts of things here. But this is not an easy database to search at all. This is not a user-friendly database. So let's say that you wanted to search for some company information. I'm going to stick with Revlon. We'll go in here. Actually, I was just in there. Don't do it. Do not do it. Okay. Well, first of all, let me just read this little descript here. Net Advantage provides information on companies, industries, stocks, mutual funds, and the economy. Sources include industry surveys, stock reports, bond reports, and corporate records. The type of information includes, but is not limited to, financial statistics, commentary, and direct listings, e.g. security dealers. The industry surveys is an excellent resource to locate information on 53 specific industries. Maximum users unlimited, so this should... Okay. Hold on for a second. Okay, well, I had to switch browsers. This has been an interesting night. So I had to switch browsers, but let's go ahead and do another Revlon search because I just like dealing with Revlon. So if you pull up a company of Revlon, you will get this, again, a overview. You get some of the same information that you would have in Mergent, but then things get a little interesting. So you have a more thorough list of key professionals. You do have subsidiaries again. Have Standard & Poor ratings histories. So unlike Mergent, Standard & Poor does do ratings on these countries, for these companies. And I think that it largely revolves around the debt and the credit ratings around these companies. So as we can see, Revlon has of late not been doing too great. I guess they are stable, but they're going from B, then they're going down, and they're getting negative ratings and everything. And I mean, you know, with COVID and everything, this probably should not be a shock. It's probably just good that they have started to rebound. And then you can come over here and you can get, and there are different, let's actually see if we can, let me make sure this isn't going to take me out of Revlon. So we can come to ratios, yeah. And so we've got, again, our ratios for Revlon, and we can have all these other different sorts of things. So you would need to play around with this. There's a lot of information in there. But again, when doing company information, Standard & Poor or S&P Net Advantage is a good place to go. Now, you can get even more information on these key people in Standard & Poor's. That's always pretty cool. And let's see what's popping up with our industry surveys here. I get my industry information largely from IBISWorld. That's where I like to get it. Yes, there's nothing there. But again, you can play with these different features. I usually use Standard & Poor for company research. However, as you can see, there are market research elements and industry surveys and that sort of thing to look at as well. So that's your Standard & Poor, and this is also a good tool to have in your toolbox. Okay, now you won't see this with your Mizzou listings, but another database that can give you some pretty good company information, but will also delve into really like local market information for the most part is going to be good old Reference USA, and most, well, maybe I shouldn't say most, but a lot of public libraries have this. So even if you don't have the access through your institution, University of Missouri, there's a good chance that you can access some good information here from your public library, and I have access through my local public library, which is Mid-Continent Public Library. So let's say this is, for one thing, this is just a good way to see what businesses are local, but it's also a good way to just get some good information on some local companies. So we're not going to do Revlon here. Let's do an advanced search. A lot of times when I'm using Reference USA, what I'm using it for is people are wanting like information on what companies are local and how they can get more information on those local companies. So let's do it that way. Let's do a geographic search. So what we're going to do, for one thing, I am going to go ahead and put in a NAICS code. Let me do cosmetics again. Why not? I don't wear makeup. It won't be enough to make me look good. All right. Search NAICS. Bada bing. Okay. And we are going to go with, let's go with cosmetics and perfumes retail. And then we're going to come down here and we're going to select our geography, and I'm just going to put in, I mean, you can get city, state, metro, whatever. I'm just going to go for zip codes just for the hell of kind of keeping this light. So let's say, what zip code do I want? 64110. Will that keep? And let's not add anything else, actually. I am going to leave off the rest of these criteria and see what happens. So what I would do is I would update my count. I've only got 6. Let me just make sure that I'm doing this right. So if I remove this, that count should go up. Yeah. Okay, so now I'm going to limit this to one particular zip code in the Kansas City area. Update count, we've got 6. Let's view these results. So we've got these 6, and you can see this is good for at the local level. If you want to learn who the executives are at these local places, you can find out right here. You can get, you can get phone numbers and addresses, of course, from Google, but this takes it a step further for you. King's Beauty Supply, I find these a lot in the hood. So if you're not familiar with King's Beauty Supply, just go to the hood and you'll find out a few things. All right, so King's Beauty Supply, can pull this up. You're not necessarily going to have all the information you're going to want for every company, and it's just going to it's what, from what I've seen, it's just what Reference USA was able to pull for any type of information. But we can still for a lot of these you can get employee count. We've got 2 employees actually here listed, so that's not a lot. Years in database, they've been around for 24 years, or at least in the database for 24 years. Last updated November 2019, so pretty recent. They're maintaining a good credit score, yada, yada, yada. And yeah, so then you can find also ranges of business expenditures and sales information and that sort of thing. Okay. So there you go with that. And so this, again, this is what Reference USA can be used for. And again, depending on the company, like I would bet you that CVS has a lot more that's just readily available. So if we go into CVS, yeah, as you can see, we don't have that grayed out information box. We've got Fuller, Natescode things. We do have a few things that are still unavailable, 20 employees, which is a lot more. But, you know, you see a difference there. Okay, so play around with Reference USA. And you know what, I changed my mind. So rather than, because we're at 30 minutes, rather than belabor this with me trying to show you all a bunch of other things, I think that I'm going to make this video the company research video, and then we'll come back and we'll look at industry. We'll look at industry, consumer information, and investment at another time. Actually, Yahoo is good for investment. Now there is Value Line and Morningstar. Those are also investment tools that a lot of libraries subscribe to. But I think that Midcontinent actually ended their subscriptions to those, maybe due to COVID. So let me see also if I can access those some other way. But yeah, let's go ahead and keep this at 30 minutes. I've had you here long enough. Again, you can speed these videos up. I hope I said that earlier. But we will talk about industry next week. So have a good week.